Hello, Writing Workshop, and welcome to our virtual day. Not my favorite thing in the world, and maybe not your favorite thing either, but we're going to make lemonade out of lemons today with it. Our plan for today is basically the same as what we were going to do in class. I just have to do the demonstration in video format. I want to get you guys started on researching and outlining for your Controversies and Conspiracies essay. This is a virtual video, so I encourage you to take a moment to pray. Maybe pause the video if you haven't prayed yet for your learning today. Otherwise, we'll continue in a moment. Alright, so one thing I'll note after you finish our video today is that it's really the rest of the week. So whether we're in person or virtual tomorrow, it's the same plan as well. Just to continue researching and outlining for our essay. I will tell you to take your time researching. So the things I'll demonstrate in our video today are just to help you get started. Please know that next Wednesday is a full outlining day in class as well. So I encourage you to do as much researching and outlining as you can on your own. Please know if there's something difficult, we can certainly work through that together in class on Wednesday before outlines are due. So you'll see here, demonstration starting your outline, you're watching that now. Controversies and Conspiracies essay outline. This is your document right here. Once you click my document, it'll take you in, just like your college application essay outline. I'm going to be opening mine up in Word, just so I can make changes to it that doesn't impact your document. And here's my example. Now, one thing I'll note is my example does already have some text in it. It's because I've already filmed this lesson video once, but then there was some kind of technical error that deleted a big section of it, so I'll walk through what I've found so far. This particular outline divides your essay into sections, not necessarily into paragraphs. You certainly could write this essay as a 4-paragraph essay. If you did that, your body paragraphs will be really big, and that's okay. You are also allowed to split paragraphs any way you see fit. So if you're writing your body paragraphs and you see natural ways to kind of split them into multiple smaller paragraphs, you can certainly do that. I'll leave that up to you. I'm likely going to be writing mine just with really big body paragraphs and calling it a day. What I'm looking for your essay is not necessarily number of paragraphs, it's just total length. So I'm looking for your essay to be like 3 to 4, maybe a little bit more pages in length, double spaced. That doesn't include your works cited page, which we will do later on. The first section of your essay is your introduction. It's the same thing, just 3 parts, an attention getter, some background, and a thesis. What your introduction should do is give some historical background on your topic or conspiracy theory without delving too deeply into either side, because that's what your body paragraphs are for. I would recommend finding a trustworthy source or two that will help you give that context here, so you can practice research immediately. The first thing I did is I jotted down my thesis. Mine's pretty similar to what I did in the Choose Your Topic discussion. By the way, I still need to comment on a number of those discussions. I'll do that once this video is over. My basic thesis is this for abortion. While some people today defend abortion along the lines of a woman's bodily autonomy, right to choose, others argue that abortion breaks moral and ethical barriers. That's going to set up each of my big body paragraphs. For my attention getter, I decided to set the context for abortion in America specifically. So one thing I was curious about is how many abortions are performed on a yearly basis. I did find a statistic from 2020. It's about as recent as they can be found. The CDC says there were 627,000 abortions nationally in 2020 in the District of Columbia in 47 states. They must have not been collecting data on Alaska or Hawaii. I did cite the authors' last names here. That's how to do it in MLA, Diamant and Mohammed. From there, I just left a note for myself. I found a really great source called A Brief History of Abortion in the U.S. One thing I'll do is I'll kind of show you how I found this source. So in order to get to this source, what I did, and this is a good thing to do for research, is you can ask research questions to Google and see what they give you. So if I typed in something like, what is the history of abortion in the U.S.? There it is, A Brief History of Abortion in the U.S. So one thing I noticed as I was researching is this entire article is fantastic for doing what I need it to do in my introduction. I don't necessarily want to use a ton of direct quotes from it, though. So what I'm personally going to do, as I noted for myself, is I'm going to paraphrase it pretty extensively. You are allowed to do that in a research paper. You are allowed to paraphrase a larger section of text, and then cite it at the end of that paraphrase. I'll demonstrate that as I'm drafting out this paragraph. But it is a good idea to find a source or two that really work well for giving the actual background context of your debate or conspiracy theory, whichever topic you're looking at. I did give myself its article title and author to make it so much easier to paraphrase and cite later. It's also a good idea to save any sources that you may want to use within your essay. So I'm going to click the star to bookmark this. It threw it on my bookmarks tab. Another thing you could do is just copy paste links, so Control C, and then maybe email yourself that link so you have a nice list of sources going that you can use to re-access them later. Makes it so much easier to draft your essay and to cite sources later on. But I've read this source. It's a fantastic one for giving the background of abortion in the United States, and also why it's a controversial topic too. That's really all I need my introduction to do. I'm going to guess that my introduction is going to end up being about 3/4 of a page, especially after I paraphrase what that article has to say about abortion in the United States. And then, of course, my thesis sets up my body. 2 major body sections. In your first one, you should discuss one major side of the debate. Or if you're doing a conspiracy theory, you may want to start by focusing on what the conspiracy is, for instance. Why do some people believe that there might be something deeper at play? You are allowed to split this into multiple paragraphs. I have given you enough space to go up to 4 pieces of evidence here, which is a lot, I admit, but it might be helpful, especially if there's a lot of perspectives on your topic, to actually go with 4 pieces of evidence, then see if that helps you divide paragraphs. All I've left for myself is a note and 1 piece of evidence so far. I left a note that I'm going to focus my first body section on proponents, supporters of abortion. That's what proponents means. I'm especially going to focus on women's right to choose, or bodily autonomy, as kind of the major focus of why abortion might be acceptable. And all I've given myself here is a link to follow. One thing I noted for myself is that the second paragraph of this article is especially good for establishing that viewpoint. It could be one that I quote or paraphrase, whatever will work better as I'm drafting. If I Control C that link, I wonder if I can just dive back into it. I believe it's this one. Yeah, it's a PDF document right here. Again, I'm going to do the same strategy of bookmarking that, make it easier for me to access it later. It actually looks like I can rename it too. So I might call it Center for Reproductive Rights. Yeah. So obviously this is going to be a biased source, but it's okay for me to go with a biased standpoint for this particular paragraph, because they're establishing the argument that I want to roll with to start here. This second paragraph is especially good, so that's one that I will quote or paraphrase later on. Now that I've bookmarked it, I can close it too. Friendly reminder, outlines don't have to be in complete sentences, so I can leave myself notes along the way. As I am continuing, I'm personally the type of person to round out all my evidence first and then go back and do commentary later. Personally, I like to make sure that there's enough there on the internet, sources-wise, in order to support my topic. It does say in the prompt that you need to cite from at least 4 different sources. So far, even in mine, I've done 3. There's one for my attention getter, one for my background sentences, and now one in my first body paragraph. So I could use this source for my whole body paragraph, or I can look at other sources too. I'll leave that up to you guys as you're researching. Second body section is going to be the other major side. So for me, that would be the opposing viewpoint, that abortion is unethical or immoral. For this one, I have found a direct quote so far. I'm going to go ahead and just pull up the article real quick as well. Justin Taylor, Gospel Coalition, abortion. Should pull it up once again. And once again, I'll bookmark it, make it easier to get to later. Now I'm up to my 4 sources. Just hit done on that. On this one, I found a particularly good direct quote. It's a little bit lower here after some of the videos that are created there. By the way, I could cite videos too. It's a little bit more complex than citing text. But what I rolled with is this thesis. It's a fantastic direct quote for what I need for that paragraph, and that's what I did. Justin Taylor writes, "The choice to have an abortion is objectively immoral. Why? Because abortion kills a human being. This human embryo is a whole, albeit immature, living member of the species Homo sapiens. It is the same kind of entity as you or I, only at an earlier stage of development. It's a really good first piece of evidence for me to roll with in that paragraph, and so I decided to direct quote. If I had more time, I'd do the rest of my evidence on video as well, but that would probably create a pretty long video, so I will save that for later. I would also just say that this early in the research process, it's probably most valuable just to find sources and evidence. Commentary kind of fills itself out later, especially as you find ones that you really like. You also don't necessarily need to use all 4 pieces of evidence. Really depends on what you have and what you're finding. And once again, body paragraphs you can divide up into multiple paragraphs if you like. I'm going to experiment with just writing 2 massive body paragraphs. Your last section is your conclusion. Once again, in this section, here's where I do want you to take your own personal stance. It is okay to use first-person language, I, me, and my here. You still want to avoid second-person language, so don't use you or yours here. It's also wise to maybe finish with a persuasive final thought, something that gives your readers something further to think or do as a result of reading your essay. For my restated thesis, I just went really general with it. Abortion is a controversial issue with 2 warring sides, along with various subtopics and perspectives. My personal stance here, I haven't fleshed out fully because I need to do more research. In your personal stance, it's wise to refer back to the research in your body paragraphs discussing what was compelling for you. I just left myself a little note to get started there. I said, personally, I'm against abortion. I do think that federal law can be much clearer about situations that could merit abortion. I don't necessarily think the United States is beholden to follow the Bible as a government entity. I feel like our country decided to turn away from that a long time ago. But I would defend anti-abortion religious organizations like churches. I do think they can and should continue to defend the sanctity of life. In my final thought, I just gave myself a strategy to try as well. Because mine is a political topic, I could give my readers some ideas about voting for pro-life candidates, supporting churches and charities, supporting adoption as an alternative to abortion, etc. There's different things I can try there, but again, it's an outline. I just want to give myself notes for now. And sorry if there's kind of a weird jump in the video. There is one thing that I forgot to demonstrate as I was walking through my example outline so far. It is some ideas on search terms on the internet. For one, you can always search questions if there's a specific question you had. So for instance, for my attention getter, I had to ask the question, how many abortions are performed in America every year? Question mark and everything. That did bring me to a good source from the Pew Research Center, which I use for my attention getter. So very recent, it has authors, it's a great source, Pew Research Center that I use there. Again, I got there by asking a specific pointed research question in Google. Another really good strategy for finding sources that are going to give you good arguments to roll with would be to put actual stances in Google as well. So for instance, when I was looking up when I was looking for proponents of abortion, I just typed in abortion is a fundamental women's right. There's my original search. Notice that I just typed in a standpoint on it, whether I agree with it or not. And then it brings up an actual source that I can roll with there. That was the reproductiverights.org one that I've already bookmarked. There are 2 other places that I might recommend as a strategy. I know some of you may have used procon.org, for instance, for research. And I'll just go straight to their abortion page, actually, because why not? Where is it? So, for instance, if I look at procon.org's abortion page, while these aren't citable themselves, just because I don't know who wrote them, kind of like Wikipedia, I do notice that they have citations, right? So if I click 256 right here, it's going to bring me to this point right here from clevelandclinic.org, which I can get to by clicking on it once again. So brings up the definition of conception. I can certainly use this article if that's helpful for my essay. Again, procon.org helped me get there in the first place, although I can't cite Procon itself. I can use its references. The same thing works on Wikipedia. So I'll go to Wikipedia, I'll just type in abortion. It went to abortion law, that's fine. I'll just use it as a demonstration. As you guys know, Wikipedia is not a citable source by itself. I have no idea who wrote this stuff, although it's probably good information. But just about every webpage on Wikipedia has notes. Oh my goodness, there's a million notes here. References. They might have external links below that as well. This one has 400, 500 references, 600 references, and then external links at the bottom. Anything blue is clickable. So, for instance, if I'm looking through its references and I see a title that's interesting, let me go a little bit higher there. What's this from? Decree on Women's Healthcare. Where's this from? 17 Moments in Soviet History. It's so interesting. This is that's from 1920. That's maybe not going to be helpful for my essay, but I hope you get the idea that anything blue at the bottom of a Wikipedia page is clickable and will take you to a more citable source than Wikipedia. These can take me to sources that might be more helpful. So oftentimes you can use Wikipedia as a starting point for research, and then just seeing what you can find in its references depending on your topic. I recommend that you try out some of these to help you find really good sources for bringing in some of those arguments, evidence, quotes, paraphrases into your essay. I'm interested in seeing what you guys are able to put into your outlines as we prepare for next Wednesday. Now I can say peace.